I see on Friday you met with the Army Corps of Engineers to talk about the levee evaluation. How and why is it important to get the levee certified and repaired?
Well, first and foremost, obviously the levee needs to be certified so the flood insurance doesn't go through the roof. That's a project that's been ongoing for a number of years now, working with obviously the Army Corps of Engineers, PEMA, FEMA, our local, county, state, and federal partners to get that, the accreditation and the certification. So we're very excited that Colonel Penchason is keeping that on the front burners. For the Army Corps, right now doing a risk assessment. That's going to take 12 to 18 months probably, and simultaneously we're working on the deficiencies here in the city. John Sander, our city engineer, in conjunction with the county folks, doing the projects related to the levee that we know need to be done. So, again, I'm grateful to the Army Corps, given the large amount of projects they have on their plate in the Baltimore district, that they're keeping our levee certification and accreditation really at the top of the list. So it was a great meeting with the Colonel. We're going to have a quarterly meeting at the end of this month, and we'll have more updates at that point. But basically, touching base with her just to say, hey, where do we stand currently with the levee, with the risk assessment? And she said, it's right at the top of the list. The Army Corps is going to, do everything we can to get this project and the levee accredited and recertified as quickly as possible. So that's very good news for the city of Williamsport and the citizens and taxpayers, so that the flood insurance does not go up, and more importantly, if we do have one of those 100-year water events that the levee obviously holds.
Once it's recertified, do you think that'll help recruiting new businesses to Reach Road?
Yes, yeah, I do. And we've been fortunate. We've had some new businesses come there with Spartronics. They acquired a couple businesses here in Williamsport and actually around the country, and they made Reach Road in Williamsport their headquarters. And I think moving forward, that will help attract new businesses because they'll see that the levee is recertified. It won't be, kind of, up in the air whether or not it's going to get recertified and where their flood insurance stands. So once that's done, we can say, listen, levee's recertified, it's accredited, the flood insurance is good, and now we have our operations and maintenance plan, for the next number of years so that we don't get in this position again.
What changes can we look forward to in this city parks? I see we have splash pad, maybe a bike park, memorial pool is under repair. What can we look forward to this year? Yeah,
so actually working with DCNR right now to do to update our comprehensive plan across the city for recreation and open spaces. So we're applying to DCNR for a planning grant right now in 2022 to update that, to update our comprehensive plan. And then in 2023, hopefully apply to DCNR to get grant funding to actually do the projects. In spite of that, we do have $25.5 million, obviously, or I should say in addition to that, I guess, of rescue plan money to start in recreation. And so we are exploring splash parks. That's probably going to be going in front of council within the next few weeks, most likely. We have our next rescue plan meeting with council on January 31st to discuss the rescue plan funding. So we have splash parks, memorial pool is going to be, obviously the pool liner was already approved by city council for that, so you're going to get the memorial pool upgrades. That's going to be open for the 2022 season. We're also going to do electricity upgrade at memorial pool. That's going to be coming before council, pending council approval. We figure while we're doing memorial pool, we might as well upgrade everything. So we're looking at the electricity has not been upgraded there in many years, so that's going to need to be done. So memorial pool is going to be open. As you mentioned, the bike park, we're exploring that for Shaw Park. There's going to be Lowe's already received a grant, so Lowe's is going to be getting upgrades this year, ADA upgrades, equipment upgrades, various improvements to Lowe's Park. We're exploring options for Newberry as well, whether we do sort of a hybrid soccer football field, another splash park at Newberry. Council is interested in that as well, so we're exploring that. Same thing for Shaw Park. We have, that's a lot of open space out there, so we're looking at giving Shaw some TLC to the handball court, the basketball court, baseball field, looking at a hybrid field out there as well, football and soccer, and then of course at Shaw, the splash park and also the bike park. So really across the board, Youngs Woods too. We're looking at various improvements there. We're actually going to apply to the county for a grant for Youngs Woods. We're in that process right now. So all of our parks across the board, Brandon Park is getting band shell. That's in the design phase. The brand shell, Brandon Park's brand shell, that project has sat for a number of years. my administration got that going again, so that's in the design phase. So really across the board, our parks are going to get, some upgrades, some improvements, and just really some much needed TLC that they have not received over the years. So we're very excited for the improvements to our parks and recreation open spaces, and look forward to seeing those changes. And there's also going to be some green infrastructure. So DCNR has additional money available if you include some green infrastructure projects. So we're going to, as part of our comprehensive plan for the parks and open spaces, part of that will include green infrastructure projects in those recreational spaces. So again, we're very excited. A lot of moving parts as it relates to Parks and Recreation, and I think that's going to obviously retain folks in those neighborhoods and attract people to our city. Once you have people, when we did the rescue plan survey, the top two areas that folks said, and they almost were neck and neck, by within almost 1/10%, was public safety and recreation. And so that's where we're focusing, initially, because that's what the citizens and the community spoke on when they filled out their survey. So we're listening. We're looking at public safety and recreation improvements.
What kind of public safety improvements?
So we already had the police radios. Obviously, that was one thing that was in dire need. Our radios have been in need of replacement for probably 6 or 7 years now. It was a big expense, and so before we were trying to figure out where we were going to get money from. Rescue plan that was approved. So police radios are ordered. We ordered new vehicles for the police as well. 4 new vehicles. We're looking at our firefighters apparatus. So probably 2 to 3 new towers and engines over in the fire department. We're also exploring the mental health, behavioral health critical intervention team within the police department, so that if we're responding to a mental health or behavioral health situation, we have a specialized trained team to do that. Looking at probably a hybrid team of social workers, police, EMS, firefighters to respond to those calls. So that's in the planning phases right now. So a lot of public safety items that we're looking at as well. So again, we're very excited. Obviously we're fortunate to have the rescue plan money, $25.5 million. That is essentially equivalent to 1 year's budget for us. And then, have a plan, which we do, to spend the money, not nickel and dime it, and work through that, which the administration is doing with City Council right now.
Okay. Shifting gears a little bit, how challenging is it for the city to financially plan with the ongoing Attorney General investigation? How does that impact your plans?
It impacts everything. When we're almost 99% of what we do has some type of financial impact to it, whether we're purchasing equipment or day-to-day operations, salaries, budget. So everything we do, nearly, we have to be cognizant of the finances. And right now it's been very challenging. We have been under an Attorney General's investigation for nearly my entire term for these first 2 years. It started very shortly after I took office. And so when we're working on budgets and we're working on the day-to-day finances of the city, and you don't know accurately what you have in the accounts, that's very, very difficult. And so we're working through the audits. We had the presentation of the 2019-2020 transit audit that showed around $11 million of money that was misappropriated. In the auditor's words, fraudulently spent, shell game. And so working through all of that, working through now on the city side, they've started the city audit. We're 2 years behind, 2019-2020 again, with all of the how the money was commingled. Again, the auditor's word that it was commingled between RVT and the city. And council's asked me, and I can't answer this yet, pending the audits, how much on the city side was commingled that's not supposed to be there. We don't know that yet. That's what the auditors are working through. So to run a city without knowing accurately where you stand financially is difficult. Having said that, the only way is through. We have got to continue to run the city, and my administration has stepped up, and we've done that. We've got a lot of projects completed, we have a lot of projects ongoing, and we have a lot of projects that we're going to be starting. it's really difficult to do that and not know, for example, on a local match, if we have to match a grant, where are we getting the money from? Is the money that's in there, is that truly what's supposed to be in there? Some of it's supposed to be in there, all of that's supposed to be in there, and we don't know that. So pending the audits, we have to continue to move forward as best we can until we have all the information. Clearly, you can't just shut down the city, and so that's what we're doing. That's what, again, I applaud, the folks in administration that have really done a good job with having limited financial information at this point. But again, I ran on getting the financial house in order. That's what I'm committed to doing, and that's what we are doing, and we'll continue to do that. And I'll continue to be transparent about it. I ran on transparency as well. And just as soon as we can, we have financial software that we're reviewing, researching, and exploring. As soon as I can, take that to City Council. As soon as I know what numbers to put into the financial software, it'll be on our new city website. It'll be fully transparent. You'll see, in real time where each department is spending money, the revenues, the expenditures. I cannot wait for that day, just soon enough that we can get it all out there, be as transparent as we can with our tax dollars, because at the end of the day, every penny is tax dollars. The city, the citizens, and the taxpayers need to know how their money's being spent. So we're working through that as quickly as we can, given the ongoing investigation and the auditors. So, I obviously don't know where the investigation stands, and I don't have any, I don't know a time frame for that. I'm hoping it wraps up sooner rather than later so we can get that behind us and move forward, with accurate finances and knowing where we stand with the money.
Okay. So we're meeting in your new office. So you guys are nicely settled in Trade and Transit 1. What can you tell us about City Hall repairs, or what is going on over there?
Yeah, so we had, obviously there was a discussion yesterday during Public Works where the last year there's been different variables that have come into play since March when we entered into the consent decree. We have 1 year from the consent decree to have a work plan for City Hall. We've done the ramp. The ramp was awarded very quickly after that March consent decree. That was installed. That was part of the consent decree. Folks asked, why did you do a ramp when City Hall is currently condemned? That was part of the consent decree. That was on the exterior of the building. So, and that was before the water damage and before the coil and the air handler broke with the heating in December. We had already started on that. So, we had to do the ramp. Right now, City Hall, there's significant water damage. There's other significant issues that we've talked about. We've had the ADA expert come in and do a survey of all of our buildings, not just City Hall. And City Hall needs significant work. Once you start to do work, that leads to other work that's probably going to need to be done, because, and Mr. Derry, our ADA expert, said yesterday, once you start to touch things, now there's other ADA improvements and other improvements just per the building code that Joe Girardi talked about that's going to need to be done. And once you hit a certain percentage of, a dollar amount of work that you're doing, and I don't know what that is off the top of my head right now, but once you do that, if it's worth more than if that's more than the worth of the building, now you have to redo the entire building. And so there's a lot of factors that play into it. We have the roof, the HVAC, the elevator, the ADA upgrades, and asbestos, most likely when you start to dive into the walls. Those pipes are probably wrapped in asbestos. You have all the water mitigation from the water flooding that we had in July from the roof, and then what we had in December from the heating malfunction that just sent boiling hot water everywhere. And it's a large undertaking, and at this point, that's why we're exploring other options. We are here in Trade and Transit 1, we're in Trade and Transit 2, and up at RVT, and then the police are in the former Transportation Museum. So we are settled in here, and again, the employees have done a great job being flexible throughout the move. And I've shown videos, I've been transparent on City Hall to show the damage. It's significant. In a perfect world, we'd be able to fix it, get back into City Hall. I just think with the extent of the damages and the extent of the work that needs to be done, that's going to be a very, very, very difficult to have us move back into City Hall. But we are putting cost estimates together. Those continue to change. Again, when you look at what the ad hoc committee recommended, and we talked about this yesterday, there's just been variables that have come into play since then. Primarily the ADA report, and also the 2 flooding events that we've had that now have added significant water damage and water mitigation that's needed. But again, the city, the administration is working as quickly as we can to get all of this information. We have, we've had cost estimates out there. Our city engineer is doing a great job getting all of that, and we'll continue to work towards that, and just get all the information that folks need, that City Council needs to make a final decision. But at this point, I would find it very difficult, and personally, I don't think that it's, using 10, 15, 20 million dollars of tax to get back into City Hall. I think that could be used, better somewhere else.
Okay. This next question's a 2-parter. You're starting your 3rd year in office. What has been the most challenging part of the first 2 years, and what has been the best or the most rewarding part of the first couple of years? And you can
I think
either one first.
The challenging, of course, the pandemic was challenging to take over right before that, and everything that came along with the pandemic, and also the investigation, which we just talked about. So you had the pandemic coupled with the investigation. That was 2, major events that have been extremely difficult when leading a city, and not just for me. The pandemic obviously impacted all of us. Again, it was great to see our community step up in ways that were just nothing short of heroic. I mean, everybody stepped up during the pandemic to offer support, whether it was just, resources, financial, human resources, whatever the case might be. So much of our community stepped up in unbelievable ways to help get us through the pandemic. I know we're still, in the middle of it, even to this day, but everybody's stepping up, doing a great job. That's been difficult, running a city through that and all the emotions that come along with that, and investigation. So that's been challenging, but we've tackled it head on. Even in spite of, you're always going to have challenges, no matter what the case is. And you can make excuses, or you could step up and get the job done. I think our administration, city employees, and our city has really stepped up and is doing a good job getting through it. The most rewarding, this probably sounds cliche, but I really enjoy coming to work and just working with the citizens of Williamsport, the people of Williamsport, the taxpayers, all my colleagues around the Commonwealth, to really make positive changes here in Williamsport. I think we've done a good job these first 2 years of accomplishing a number of items, some that have sat for a while, some that are new, getting our financial house in order. Council passed my land bank legislation. I think that's obviously going to help towards blight remediation, redevelopment, economic development, so we're excited on that front. All the things that are happening in East 3rd Street, in Old City, like Cumming College is doing a great job. Some development going on up at the hospital, as we discussed, our parks and recreation. So there's a lot, public safety, there's a lot of items that in projects that we're getting done, and working on a daily basis to move the city forward is really extremely rewarding. Getting into the schools as well, I still get a chance to go back there and talk to the students, and just listen to them, listen to what the youth want to have. It's very rewarding. I like making connections, working on the levee, getting out and about, and just learning from people, working with others to see what I can learn from them, how we can leverage our resources, our collective thoughts and ideas to move each of our municipalities forward. I'm in part of a mayor's group that we meet about once a month or so, to discuss ways that we can, collectively use our thoughts, our resources, in our municipalities to move each of our cities forward and make positive changes. So that's been extremely rewarding on that front, and I've met a lot of great people over these first 2 years, and I look forward to continuing to meet a lot more people, over the next 2 years, and continuing to move Williamsport forward in a positive direction.
Is there anything I didn't ask you about you would like to let people know about?
So I'll say, we have a couple of events this year that we're looking forward to. Mainly, The Little League Congress is going to be coming June 10th to the 13th. It will be coming to Williamsport. That's going to be very exciting. We have representatives from all over the world come. The Little League Congress meets every 4 years, and they haven't met in Williamsport since the 1980s. So it's very exciting to have the Little League Congress coming in June. Looking forward to that event, and you know, that's obviously going to be an infusion into our local economy and our regional economy. The Williamsport Youth Commission, which I work with Judge McCoy on that's continuing to move forward. So that was, we resurrected that in the fall of 2020, and then it actually started, we implemented it in 2021. So we have our youth, some of our youth are moving their way through that program. That's been very exciting to see, you know, that diversionary program with the goal obviously to be to keep youth out of our criminal justice system. And so I chair that commission, and you know, it's been very rewarding, you know, to see the youth come in and get them back on the path, you know, to be productive citizens. So the Williamsport Youth Commission is going very well. Oh, our financial strategic plan, speaking of getting our financial house in order, we have the final draft of that, working with eConsult, who is creating that's a multi-year financial strategic plan for the city, which is clearly long overdue. That has been somewhat difficult creating it, given the not having current audits, not knowing, you know, accurately the state of our finances, but nonetheless, we still needed to do a financial strategic plan, and it's obviously going to be flexible and fluid. So as we get the audits, we can amend it. They'll give us recommendations, and this is through the state DCED, Department of Community Economic Development down in Harrisburg, and it's 70-30. So we're only responsible for 30% of it. They're responsible for 70%. So the state will pay 70% of the recommendations, and there's no limit. So, you know, in phase one, if there's, you know, 10 recommendations, we can start to implement those. You know, if it's a financial software, human resources software, the state will cover 70%. The city's responsible for 30%. So we're excited about that. That final draft and recommendations should be going to council over the next couple of weeks as well. I'm working with eConsult right now to finish that up. So we're very, very excited to get the multi-year financial strategic plan. I was appointed by the governor to sit on the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. So again, working on public safety issues around the Commonwealth, but also clearly here in Williamsport in ways that, you know, I could work with that commission to get resources into Williamsport for juvenile and adult, and that's across the board. Probation, diversionary programs, police equipment, other police resources to keep, you know, folks out of the criminal justice system, but also to make sure that the reentry is going well, the recidivism goes down. So again, that commission is doing very, very important work, and I'm very happy to sit on that commission to bring, again, resources back into Lycoming County and specifically Williamsport to help folks that have been touched by the criminal justice system and ones that have not yet, to try to keep them from entering into the criminal justice system. So that's exciting. We're still working on Graffius Run. So our engineer is working on, again, another project that's been going on and been talked about forever, but we're starting, you know, finally to start to see some movement with that. Our engineer is working on some design and working with other engineering firms to hopefully, in the not too distant future, I mean, that's a large project as well, obviously, but have some type of mitigation in place for Graffius Run. We were fortunate enough to receive the Commonwealth Financing Authority. We got a $900,000 grant for safety improvements at Campbell Street and East 4th Street. So you'll start to see improvements along those corridors related to that grant. So again, our engineers working the design phase of that and getting that going. That's very exciting. Speaking of public safety, our police and fire departments are still working through their accreditation process. That was started, you know, even prior to, that's been ongoing for a while. So even in 2020, we've been working on that for quite a while. That's quite a lengthy process. And so they're still working through the accreditation, both police and fire. So council approved as part of the budget, and also I should have brought this up, we were excited that council approved my budget for 2022 that included a no tax increase. So we're excited that this year, you know, the taxpayers and citizens, they do not have to bear the burden of a tax increase. I know the last 2 years have been difficult on folks, particularly financially so, related to the pandemic. So we're excited that that they approved that with a budget with no tax increase. The Park Avenue plan, they also approved a CDBG, funding CDBG, our Community Development Office, I shouldn't say CDBG, our Community Economic Development Office, from the general fund, which has not been done, which frees our community development staff up a little bit to work on some other items. If they're only receiving federal funding, then they have to work on CDBG and home, which is low to moderate. Now with having some funding from the general fund, that frees them up to work on some other projects such as Park Avenue plan and other economic developments around the city, economic development projects around the city. So we're excited to keep that moving forward. We've had that plan for a little while now, and hopefully start to see some shovels in the ground, in the Park Avenue area related to the study that was conducted there. Lycoming broke ground on their new music building. Again, as I mentioned before, Lycoming is doing some great things. So is Penn College and the hospital. We're fortunate to have all the businesses and organizations we have in Williamsport. They really are vested in Williamsport and they're doing a great job. Looking forward to the new music building out at Lycoming. That's broken ground. Should have mentioned other part of the recreation. We talked about the Brandon Park, the baseball fields. So we're looking to improve those as well. And again, that's a city asset. It's in the park. So folks are asking about that. Those baseball fields are in terrible shape, and again, the community has spoken on that. So we're looking to get those back in playing condition, and the trees in Newberry. I know that's been, a lot of folks have been talking about that. We've talked about that again with council during the rescue plan. So to allocate some of our rescue plan dollars to get the trees replaced in Newberry, with the hope that in 2028, when PennDOT comes back to do some of that work, that we have the appropriate trees and they can stay and not be taken down again. So I know the folks in Newberry are excited about that. We're excited about that as well, to get the trees back up. That helps with a number of things. Particularly it looks good when you have trees in neighborhoods. And so overall, I'm very excited. The first 2 years we've done a lot of great work. We still have a lot of work to do. And looking forward to 2022. As we discussed, a lot of exciting projects that are in the docket, that are ongoing, and some that we're going to get started. So I'm fully committed. My administration is fully committed, and we're in spite of all the challenges, I enjoy coming to work each day, working for the citizens and taxpayers of Williamsport. We'll continue to do that, and we look forward just to continue to make positive changes here in Williamsport.
Okay. Well, thank you for sitting down with us this morning. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.